Hello students, today we are going to discuss about time value of money. Here, let us take one example to understand this concept. The concept is, that is, suppose there is an investment proposal of 1 lakh rupees. You are going to invest 1 lakh today. So the return that you are going to generate out of this investment may be starting after 1 year. So it may continue till 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, depending on the life of the project. Now, here we want to understand about what we have invested and what we are generating. That is, we are trying to understand the nature of cash flows. That is, cash outflow and cash inflows. Now, here in investment decision, financing decisions, and dividend decisions, we have considered the flow of money or the flow of cash. That is, we want to understand what is the benefit or the advantage that you are going to generate in an investment proposal or when there is a cash outflow. Literally, we are trying to understand the difference between the cash outflows and the inflows. Now here, this concept very well explains these two things, that is, the understanding the nature of the cash inflows and outflows. So here, when you are generating a cash inflow after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, is it equal to the cash outflow that you are foregoing today? So it is not equal and we cannot compare the values. Okay. See, for example, you take a vegetable vendor who invested 2000 in the morning and generated 2300 by the end of the day. So here the concept is 300. But this 2000 would have created a much more value if invested in some other place. Okay, so wherein, that is what we are trying to understand here, that is, a rupee received today is having more value than received after 2 days or 3 days, or that is in future value. So here we are trying to understand this concept of time value of money. So what is the importance or rationale of this time value of money? So the importance or the rationale of the time preference for money is, why do we prefer money today than tomorrow? Because tomorrow is uncertain. Uncertainty means which involves risk. See, for example, you have given say 1000 rupees to a person who you have given as a loan to another person. Okay, so what is the guarantee or the thing that the person will return you 1000 rupees say after 2 days? So he said, after 2 days I'll pay you the money. But here, can you understand, can you expect that the person will give you 1000 rupees after 2 days? Yes, we expect in a positive way that he will give the money. But equally, there is an associated risk. Maybe the person may have some other investments or some other obligations where he may put you at a last preference of paying you back the 1000 rupees. That is where what we say, that is, the future is uncertain and it involves risk. Okay. So the second important concept here is, we prefer, or generally the investors or the people prefer the present uh, consumption or the present needs being satisfied with the present money than with the future. So here the current consumption is the most important point, because it again goes to the first point, that is uncertainty, because tomorrow is uncertain, so we want to have the present need satisfied at the present date itself. This is the second concept. Third concept is, that is going for an investment opportunity. Readily suppose if you are having the cash in your hand or money in your hand, you may have number of alternatives of doing it. That is investing that one. So investing of money may be going towards investment of in a bond or in a bank or in a gold or whatever it is. So all these things make the preference of money, that is the current money, is a very important concept. Okay, so the amount received in an earlier period can earn you a additional amount. This is the concept. So here we will just conclude, that is, first thing is we want to compare the inflows and the outflows, that is how much of the thing is advantageous position is being generated for the money that is invested, where you can compare, that is whether it is worthwhile or not. So in all the projects evaluation, what we do, what is the outflow, what is the inflow, we compare. So here this particular time value of money makes the concept very simple of for comparison of the inflows and the outflows. So this time value of money is not considered in profit maximization, which has become the limitation point. That is why we go for with the objective of wealth maximization, where time value of money is taken into consideration. Now let us try to understand the tools that are available in the time value of money. We are having about 8 concepts, that is simple interest, compound interest, doubling period, present value, effective rate, nominal rate, sinking fund factor, loan amortization, equated monthly installments. Okay, so here first let us understand simple interest. Simple interest is an interest that is paid on the original amount or the principal amount. So if you see the formula, simple interest is given by principal amount multiplied by the interest rate multiplied by the number of years. Let us see one example. Ram deposited rupees 1 lakh in a savings bank account at 6% simple interest and was interested to keep the deposit for 5 years. So the amount that is to be deposited is 1 lakh, rate is 6% and the period is 5 years. Now when we substitute in the formula, you get, that is the 1 lakh into 0.06, that is the interest rate, into 5 years, you will generate 30,000. That is a 1 lakh invested investment today will generate after 5 years 1 lakh 30,000. This is, that is 30,000 has been created by investing. Okay, right. Next, compound interest, the interest that is earned on a given deposit and has become part of principal at the end of a specified period. So compound interest is nothing but the interest that will be generated will be uh, uh, will become the part of the principal at end of the specified period. Suppose you take the earlier example, 1 lakh invested at 6% interest, after 5 years it is generating 30,000. Now this 30,000, suppose it is reinvested, that is the principal becomes 1 lakh 30,000 for the next year, that is the 6th year. So let us take one example. So the formula goes like this. Compound value of a single amount. So if you are putting say 1 lakh rupees, how it goes? So CV is equal to P naught into 1 plus I whole power n. So here I plus n, sorry, not I plus n, 1 plus I whole power n is the future value interfactor for interest for n years. So this becomes the interfactor for calculating the compound value. So let's see one example. Sita deposited 1 lakh today with a bank which pays 8% compound interest for a period of 5 years. Show how the deposit would grow. So we want to show the growth component. So if you see here, when we substitute 1 lakh, so CVN is nothing but CV5 because we are calculating for 5 years. Principal is 1 lakh into 1 plus 8%, that is 0.08 raised to the power of 5. This, since the period is 5 years. So we generate 14 lakhs 69,000 is the amount that will be generated after a period of 5 years when it is going as the compound interest. So the logic here is, you calculate for 1 year, it will go to a certain amount, that will become the principal for the next year. Okay, so this is compound interest for a single amount. So when we are having variable compounding periods, that is we go with the formula CVN is equal to P naught into 1 plus I by M raised to the power M cross N. Here the compound value at the end of year N is CVN. P naught is the principal amount at the 0 year, I is the interest rate per annum, M is the number of times per year compounding is done, N is the maturity period. Let us see one example. How much does a deposit of rupees 40,000 grow to at the end of 10 years at the rate of 6% interest and compounding is done semi-annually? Determine the amount at the end of 10 years. So suppose what is given here is P naught, that is the initial amount or the principal amount is 40,000, interest is 6%, N is, that is maturity period is 10 years, M is equal to 2. M is the number of times the compounding is done. So here in the given problem they have said that it is semi-annually. So semi-annually means yearly twice, that is 2. So here compound value for 10 years is equal to 40,000 into 1 plus 0.06 divided by 2 raised to the power 2 by 10. So it will generate after 10 years 72,240 rupees. Compound growth rate is calculated by V naught into 1 plus R whole power N, which is equal to Vn, where GR is the growth rate in percentage, V naught is the variable value at the end of year 1, Vn is variable value or the amount at the end of year N, where growth rate is 1 plus R whole power N. Example, from the following dividend data of a company, calculate the compound rate of growth for a period 1998 to 2003. So here they have given the dividend per share for the following years. That is 1998 it was 21, 99 it was 22, 2025 1 it was 26, 2 it was 28 and 3 it is 31. Now V naught is, that is the initial year, first year, that is 21. Vn is 31, that is after 5 years n is equal to 5. So we substitute these values here, where GR, that is growth rate, is equal to V naught into 1 plus R whole power N is equal to Vn, where we have 1 plus R whole power 5 is equal to 31 by 21, which is equal to 1.476. So this value you have to check in the compound value rupee table, which is provided to you already. So in that, if you can see 1.476 comes here with for 5 years at the growth rate of 8%. So here you get the value of 8% as the growth rate. Now compound value of series of cash flows. Compound values of series of cash flows means yearly generation. So annuity, we take into consideration the annuity here. So annuity means a series of cash flows, inflow or outflow of a fixed amount for a specified number of years. See, for example, you are putting, suppose you have given on rent a house. So every month you are going to generate the cash flows. Here a series of cash flows means generating of fixed amount for a certain period of time. So for example, if you are putting, we are having many examples for this. For example, you are you are paying an insurance policy. So after a period of 10 years or 15 years, maybe they will ask you that you want interest that is to be paid monthly or you want lump sum amount. So if you agree for the yearly payment or monthly payment, then there will be series of cash flows. This is what we mean. That is a fixed amount of cash flow will be given at a specified period for a specified number of years. So the formula goes here as CVN is equal to PV1 into 1 plus I whole power n minus 1, like that it goes till Pm. So here CVN is the compound value at the end of 1 year, n years. P1 is the payment at the end of year 1, P2 at the end of. So here each one we are trying to find out the interfactor. So since this is the future values that we are calculating, compound value means we are calculating the future values. Okay. So that P1 into 1 plus I whole power n minus 1 gives you the interfactor or the value that will be generated after 1 year for the principal amount. Okay. Or for the payment. So we'll see one example. So Mr. A deposits 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 and 25,000 in his savings bank account in a year 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 respectively. Interest rate of 6%. He wants to know his future value of deposits at the end of 5 years. So here P1, P2, P3, P4, P5 is given. Interest rate is 6%. And it is for the period of 5 years. So how do we do the problem is either you can do it in two ways, that is you can tabulate or you can put it as an equation. Now when you do it as an equation, you see here 5000 into 1 plus 0.06 raised to the power of 5 minus 1, second one 5 minus 2, 5 minus 3, like that, then you will generate this. Or you can do in another way, that is you take the year column first, 1 to 5 years, the amount, then number of times it is compounding. So here if you see here 5000 will be compounded for 4 times. Why? Because the period is 5, that is n minus 1 we are taking, that is 5 minus 1, that will be 4. Similarly 10,000 comes at year 2, so we are getting 5 minus 2, that is 3. 15,000 it is 3 years, that is 5 minus 3, that is 2. So we get the values like this. So when you take the interfactor or the compounding factor, so 1 plus I, that is 0.06 raised to the power of 4 here, since the number of times compounding is 4. So you get the value. So you multiply it, you will get 6,000 for the first year. 5,000 into 1.262 gives you 6,310. Similarly, we calculate for all the 5 years and you will get a total compounding value at the end of 5th year as 81,280. Now compound value of deferred annuity, that is when you are having even cash flows. The earlier problem we have seen that there are uneven cash flows. Now we will see with the even cash flows. So when you have even cash flows, the same thing. So let us take example, Mr. X deposits rupees 500 at the end of every year for 6 years at 6% interest. Determine Mr. X money value at the end of 6 years or the future value of Mr. X after 6 years. Okay. So here the amount paid is even. So you can see here the amount paid is 500, which is even fixed amount. Number of times it will be compounding 6 minus 1, that is 5 for first year, second year 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now we calculate the values like this. So first year the compounding factor will be 1 plus 0.06 raised to the power of 5, that will be 1.338. So it will give you 669 rupees for the first year. So similarly when you calculate for all the years and total it, you will get 3,487.5. So there is a shortcut formula for this also. So you can just take the values like this. CVN is equal to P into 1 plus I whole power n minus 1 by I, where P is the fixed periodic cash flow. This formula can be applied only when there are even cash flows. Now I is the interest, n is the duration of the amount, and this becomes the interfactor or the future interest compounding factor. So here we substitute P is equal to 500, I is equal to 6%, N is equal to 6. You will generate 3,487.50. Now let us go with the next concept, that is doubling period. A doubling period is nothing but where the given amount becomes double. That is, suppose you are putting 100 rupees today, after a given period at a given rate it becomes double, that is it becomes 200. So it is defined as the period required to double the amount invested at a given rate of interest. So generally in this we have two rules, that is rule of 72 and rule of 69. So rule 72 is given by, or the doubling period is given by 72 by I, that is I is the interest rate where dp is the doubling period. So suppose Mr. X deposits 500 today at 10% rate of interest, in how many years will this amount will be doubled? So here the rate of interest is 10%, so substituting in the formula you will get 7.2 years as the doubling period, that is 72 divided by 10, you will get 7.2 years. Okay. Rule number 69 tells about is given by dp is equal to 0.35 plus 69 by I. So where I is the interest rate and dp is the doubling period. So example, the same example we will take. Mr. A deposits rupees 500 at 10% rate of interest. In how many years will this double period, or will this amount will be doubled? I is 10%, so we take like this. dp is equal to 0.35 plus 69 divided by 10, which is equal to 7.25 years. So here what do you understand here is we are getting 7.25, whereas in the earlier, that is rule of 72, we got 7.2 years. So rule number 69 is more accurate when compared to rule number 72. Okay. Next we will see effective rate of interest in case of doubling period. What is the effective rate? So in the earlier problem we have calculated the doubling period. Now we want to know effective rate of interest for this particular thing. So rule number 72 is given by ERA is equal to 72 divided by DP, whereas in rule number 69 it is 69 divided by DP plus 0.35. Okay, where ERA is the effective rate of interest and DP is the doubling period. That is, either ways, that is you have to be either given with interest rate or you have to given with the doubling period. With this two, either of the thing, you can calculate what is the doubling period or the interest. So we'll take one example. A financial institute has come with an offer to the public where the institute pays double the amount invested at the end of 8 years. So they have given the doubling period. Mr. A is interested to deposit with the institute, wants to know the effective rate of interest that will be given by the institute. So here the year number of years has been given, that is the doubling period 8 years. Now we need to find out the effective rate of interest. So here according to rule number 72, ERA is equal to 72 by DP. So 72 by 8 we get 9%, whereas rule of 69 gives as 69 by DP plus 0.35. So you will get 8.975%. So here you see the effective rate of interest, where you see the difference of 0.025 for rule number 69. So only we take generally rule number 69 for calculating the doubling period.